she's from Connemara, and her paintings reflect the landscapes that she grew up with and that she loves. And she's going to talk a bit about her art and what inspires her. Thank you. Welcome.
Before I speak about my work, I would like my grandson to read a poem by American poet Whitney. It describes my work perfectly. This is Fionn Ryan.
This poem is called The Old Farmhouse, and it's by William Mitchum, who was born in the USA. The old farmhouse stood by the side of a nameless road. Its occupants gone to a better home, a better place, a new home. Its windows were broken and its roof was caved in, and as I stood there listening to the whispering wind that blew through its empty rooms and down its empty halls, playing a game of tag with the peeling paper on its walls, a stir of echoes moved through my mind. As the cipher moves, dry brittle leaves, echoes of nostalgic thoughts and vague bittersweet memories, memories that stirred my very soul of another place, another time, of summer picnics and ball games and wedding bell chimes, of children gaily playing on a grassy green lawn, playing childhood games, running hither, thither, and yon. But all children grow up, and then they must move on, their childish games forgotten as they have families of their own. Leaving this old farmhouse to its loneliness and decay, to be rediscovered by a stranger, passing on his lonely way. All this and more moved through my restless mind, as I gazed at that old farmhouse, standing alone in eloquent silence sublime.
Even though Whitney is an American poet from Alabama, his words resonate with people from all over who move along, who immigrate, who lose their homes to famine and different reasons. This also happened to us. I like to show those houses in my paintings and portray them as well as the landscape. So growing up in Connemara, there were no luxuries, there were no TV. In the 60s, there were no TV, no luxuries. We had a great time. My brother John's who also grew up with us. We played in those bars and outhouses, and we had families of kittens in the turf sheds, and we played jumping from the rafters and the hay. It was a bouncy castle. And it was only when I moved away, as I grew up, that I realised how beautiful it was. Later on, I went to art college and learned ways to portray those houses and barns. Also the landscape, the colour in Connemara is unique and fleeting, changes 4 or 5 times a day, different seasons. So, but after shower rain, you get those wonderful green colours. So we get a lot of rain, that's why it's so green. And I use many ways to show this, through collage, through mopping, looking up, and I use many different media, like inks, chalk, but mainly I work in oils. My favourite oil and canvas or oil on linen. But I also do some work on paper. And some of my work is, I do blue ones. There's one downstairs, and somebody asked me about them. They would bring me back to a time when I was a child, and as there were 9 of us, as we were saying, you didn't get my dad's attention very often. You worked hard, so we'd go out at night, hold the torch maybe while he was tending a calf or a cow. So the farmyard was magical at night with the twilight descending. So I also try to capture that, as I say, one of my blue paintings downstairs, or some of them on my website. And I try to show the footsteps of my ancestors in the marks on the landscape and the texture. These and the lazy beds, we call them. They're ridges in the earth where the leaves were sown, usually happened in the west of Ireland. Those marks are still in the landscape hundreds of years later, because I say we depended on the places on go time to famine, that's what happened. So those marks are still there, and I try and show those. That was really, that's my method of working, and I use many different media. So this is my work, and I would like to thank a lot of people, mainly Catherine who organised this, and Suzanne, and Gordon who owned this beautiful, beautiful building, and let me have my work up. I'm so grateful. To my family, my brother John's wife Anne, my son Michael who lives here, and his wife Bridget, she's a local Californian, and my other daughter-in-law Stephanie, made the occasion magically by bringing my 3 grandsons here today. And some people who travelled far and wide, who travelled in America and came here. And mostly, for the person who did the most work, my nephew Ethan, who without his help in transporting all the paintings here, he brought them over. I really wouldn't have this exhibition without him. Ethan Waters, Ethan and Tourist. Thank you, Ethan. Any questions I'll try and answer? Yes?
So we were enjoying your work earlier this afternoon and downstairs having a conversation about, of course it doesn't get green here in California except for about 4 minutes in January on an afternoon. So we were looking at all these shades of green and the colors and wondering, is it really that color? Or is that your interpretation? In other words, does it really look like that?
It does, and if you fly in Shannon Airport over Ireland, you'll see this.
Wow.
But it's because so much rain, it helps the growth of the grass.
Yeah.
And then the sun will come out maybe behind a cloud, and it will look like that.
The light changes. Yeah.
It does. The light is fabulous in Connemara.
Wow.
Beautiful, unique light, magical. But yeah, you get those colours. Yes.
Is it still agrarian, Bridget? Is it still farms? Is it?
Oh, it is. They're small farms. The fields are tiny, as I meant to say. They're usually less than a quarter of an acre. It's full of rock and stone. So they try to reclaim the fields, and they made mounds of stone, and they made walls, dry stone walls. So the fields are very small in the west. East is richer. They have bigger fields, big tiny fields, and from stone.
When you depict it beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
So Bridget, are these plein air where you're actually out in nature drawing
No.
these, or you're doing it in a studio?
Okay, I was born around this area where this is, and I'm lucky enough to have a shed in the field because we spend this part of the year and where I grew up. We spend the rest of the time in Galway City. For my children, I have them out there every summer working on the farm with my brother. So yeah, it's still would be like, I would go out sometimes if it was raining. I'd stay and look out the window. There's a big window in the shed. But I would do a lot of plein air and maybe finish them later, and always go back to refer to it. So
But
yes.
the studio would be near Spittle, or did you say
Well, it's
Fermo?
actually the other side. My brother lives near Spittle. It would be near Com on the west side, about 8 miles west of Com. And as I say, I have a shed in the middle of the garden, but I also have a studio in Galway in my house where we live the rest of the year. So sometimes I finish off things, but we go out there for weekends all the year round. So I
I
go
have a house
outside
in
and
Salt
in.
Hill, so we'll have to talk
Do
about
you?
it.
Oh, Salt Hill, yeah. That's where my son spent a lot of his time in the pubs there. Salt Hill is great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Here we're dealing with so much big agriculture,
Of course.
and the destruction of the family farm, and there's some resurgence of like organic farms and boutique farms, but we just had an exhibit at Numu about Arcadia and the loss of paradise.
Yes.
And when I see these, I feel such, they tug on my heartstrings. They remind me of the community that I grew up in rural Nova Scotia, where there's still a lot of family farms. And is there a fear in Ireland that it may go that way?
I'm afraid so, yeah, very much so with Europe and that kind of thing. And he will probably explain it better. He works in municipal council.
Yeah, well,
My brother's job.
yeah, like it's becoming uneconomical, like the
Yeah.
farms, because
They
completely
will have to
with
have
the big
part-time
farms.
jobs. sometimes.
Yeah, so like in the past, we say it was very much mixed. Like we'd have some sheep on the mountains,
Yeah.
the mountains as well. Then we'd have some cattle, and we'd have our own milk, butter,
Yeah,
and eggs and
and
hens.
we had the pig.
And pigs, we'd kill a pig. And
I love the pig.
claws them. And so it was very mixed. Like it was, we some like yeah, we'd have all the vegetables ourselves. But then we'd have some we'd have a mixture.
We had 9 of us.
And a lot of it would be like self-sufficient. In winter time then,
Yeah.
my father would do a lot of reclaiming work
Like that with
because
stones.
there's a lot of rocks there,
Yeah,
and
underneath.
to create fields like that and
Wow.
to clear them to make them worthwhile. But now, like they'd sell cattle at the fairs, at the local fair. Now it's all a mark. Like the fair, everyone would gather to the fair, local fair, and there'd be bargaining over the cattle and selling them.
Yeah.
Selling them. There'd be everything for sale at the sale.
Yeah.
Stalls, clothes,
Yeah, clothes.
all kinds of trinkets. you name it, at the store. But they have that's gone because now it's a market. The big cattle to a market. The sheep are brought to the market and sold at a market.
But I have done
Now, before that, you see, we live in a valley, just in a valley. There's mountains every side of us, and just one entrance. And there's a river flowing through the valley, and the streams feed into it. But the sheep, all the farmers had sheep on the mountains.
So yeah.
And the sheep were very important because wool was a very valuable thing. So people living in the valley, they sold the
So we managed.
yeah. And then of course that has gone. Like it costs more to shear the sheep now than what they get for the wool. But they have to shear them.
Yeah.
But that's like the ways of life, they're changing gradually.
But I painted some of the barns in Central Valley. I made my husband drive up there one time and we sketched and painted some. I love the barns here also. The different colours you get and they're, you know, the wearing of. So I have painted some here too. I'd love to get the two together maybe sometime.
So I noticed you also paint a lot in squares or rectangles, and I mean, I love that you have the different shades. Is that symbolic of what you do, or is there reasoning?
It's actually what I see when I look at them. Yeah, that's what I see. That's the shapes of them. They're the shapes of the fields.
Yeah, you see, some of the fields, like the earth is very shallow, so they'll be more brown.
Underneath.
And then on the bank, coming near the river, it's flat land and it'll be greener.
Stone walls, there are stone walls around all those little fields.
And the fields are small because there's so much stone, they have to get.
You were saying, sorry?
I thought it was really interesting about the potatoes.
Oh yeah, they're still there, the ridges. They're called lazy beds.
The lazy beds.
Lazy beds, that was the time, that's what they're called. They were ridges, man-made ridges with a spade. You did the lines, and you sowed potatoes.
And you were saying
It's like the trace.
they've been there for
The
hundreds
traces are
of
still,
years.
their habits down. But the lines are still in the landscape and the marks. Like this one as well, all the marks. You get those marks. You see them when you look at the landscape.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, it is. It's different.
You see, I suppose going back to, at the time of the famine, like the population of Ireland was quite what it is now. Like about 2 million died.
In the famine, yeah.
Another 2 million immigrated.
Yeah.
Like now they had landlords, and they exacted enormous, exorbitant rent from the farmers, and they had to build. They lived mostly on potatoes. That's why so many died. But
that's why so many
the
died.
ridges, these lazy beds, they can be seen on the sides of the mountain, where it's like there's hardly any depth of side, and there's very wide ridges to try and make a ridge.
Yeah, and the marks were still
But
there.
you can see, like that was after the time during the famine in 1847,
Yeah,
48.
well, so they're still there, the marks.
But and actually that area is becoming, it's one of the richest in geology in the world.
With all the rocks.
They have such a variety there, I'm told, as you have in the whole of the United States, within about 40 miles.
Different minerals
And they're trying to get UNESCO, that's being worked on at the moment, to get UNESCO recognition.
They're all different types.
A bit like city.
Yes, so I'm just wondering, do you have a family history of artists in your family?
You know, they're very creative, but they're in theatre and writing, and there's one is a publisher, she's giving a talk down the library she did today. But art, not so much. My own kids, no, they didn't do it. No. But grandchildren, I have very good artists. The grandchildren, Sam here is very good at art, and there's a bit, so Daniel likes his photographer, this guy here. So yes, a bit, the creative.
So do people take over? Are they going to take over the land? And if you're
Yeah,
family?
we had what they call you heard the word boycott.
Boycott?
Did you hear the word boycott ever?
They might have.
Boycott was one of the land. The word came from a landlord that lived close where we lived, near Con. He owned land there, but like they exacted such rent from it. Like they were driven into poverty. They lived in holes, really, earth cabins. Now, if they wouldn't pay the rent, if they couldn't pay this huge rent, the landlord just came and knocked down the little huts. and drove them off the land. So it was becoming like they would be wiped out really.
But nowadays,
So then they set up the Land League, and there they had 60 of 10-year fair range. So anyway, but what happened then with Boycott, he was the landlord, and the Land League, they set up a Land League, there's a group of, what's the name at all, that man from Mayo, he set it up. Anyway, make a long story short, they refused to work for the landlord. Now he brought in the army to do the harvesting because he had owned all the land. Before that he had the tenants that had to work for free on the land. You worked, wherever you wanted to work, you'd be brought in. So they stopped working for him.
We call that boycott.
And he got the army in, but he couldn't afford to pay them and feed them. So that didn't work. So eventually he had to take off, he went forced. And that's where the word boycott came from. In actual fact, it should have been boycat. His real name, he was a landlord from England. His real name was boycat. I don't know.
He was English.
So that's what
He was English.
and that's how they managed. And eventually the British government, were in the British rule, they came along and then they offered to buy out the landlords, and that the tenants would pay over a number of years. They take out, give loans.
The question was
But anyway, after 1960, we reneged on the payment. And they set up a tariff thing. They wouldn't allow any exports from Ireland to England for years, and they had to eat their own beef in Ireland. They had a scheme they called the bully beef. They would give away beef
your question was about the...
Sorry, no, for the dressing.
No, if people live in it, a lot of people would have part-time jobs to sustain the livelihood on it. They wouldn't be able to live on it full-time. So what they would do, they'd work and keep the farm going. But they probably wouldn't get enough out of it, you know.
I just want to make a comment. I love the way you have these framed. It gives it so much dimension with, you know, both frames, and you see the shadowing.
All right.
And it looks so fresh. You can almost feel that.
Well, I think
freshness.
the white shows the colours as well. I like white against them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks really, really nice. Yes.
Do the colors represent different seasons?
Most mine would be started in summer and done mostly in summer. So yeah, they would be mostly summer work.
What are your winter ones like?
Yeah. Well, you know what? In Ireland, the weather doesn't change an awful lot. It does get really cold. And in summer, we went for a week of summer this year. It rained an awful lot. So yeah, it's kind of, it doesn't change much all the year round.
Where is this area?
It's west of Ireland. No, it's the west of Ireland. It's called Connemara. It's a whole region, and it's, as I say, it's quite poor soil.
It's in West Galway.
West Galway, yeah, West Ireland and Galway, and some of Mayo. And it's Irish speaking, it's Gaelic speaking.
Oh.
Yeah, it is. When we were going to school, we only did English in our English class. And they do Irish nowadays. Those boys. Yeah.
And there's more downstairs, Bridget?
There's more downstairs at the back. There's just a store up here.
You're beautiful. Thank you.
Anyway, coming.